Ladies and gents, welcome back. This is a special stream. Tonight, I've got a special guest, and before we get there, there's been all kinds of things going on throughout Canada, but one thing in particular that's been a lot of fun, and I found really fun, because like I say to you guys so many times before, I go to Twitter so you don't have to. But lately, I've been encouraging people to go there because, you know, this hyperbolic chamber that we call Twitter is a really fun place to get your ideas out there and actually communicate with people in a fun way, to try to convince people of your ideas, your opinions, things like that. Now, it's not always productive conversations. I like to compare it to basically having an intellectual conversation with an angry chihuahua behind a chain link fence. That's usually the feel for a conversation on Twitter, but it's more the viewership that gets to see the engagement, and then the friends that you meet along the way. And speaking of some of the friends that you meet along the way, well, here's one of the friends that I met along the way, and his name is Marty up north. What are you saying, my friend?
I love your Chihuahua comment. That is, I'm going to have to remember that because, and people say sometimes, how do you stay grounded? How do you not lose your temper on Twitter? You got to remind yourself that you're having a discussion that you probably wouldn't have in person. That's a great intro. Fabulous intro.
Absolutely. So rather than me giving the introduction about who you are, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm talking to you right now from Northwest Calgary. I live on an acreage, so if I start to glitch a little bit, that's why. I'm an engineer. I'm a petroleum engineer, which is a very common type of engineer in Alberta. I've been practicing for 33 years now. Married, father of 4 kids, love hockey, but one of the things that I was known, I had a small social media presence prior to all this. I've been on YouTube like you for a decade, and on YouTube I'm known as Marty up north, the guy who goes out and does outdoor adventures, specifically hiking. And the fact that my name is Marty up north, that's just a moniker I picked up decades ago. I lived the majority of my adult life north of Highway 16, so in the northern part of Alberta, and small but whole little towns like Fox Creek and Edson and Grand Prairie. And so, I'm, for lack of a better word, I'm a typical Albertan.
Perfect. So, like, the two of us, we got to know each other on Twitter because of our banter back and forth with crazy pants. I mean, like, people out there, just the engagement that you have with people, it's not your regular engagement. It's like I described it earlier. You're shouting at an angry chihuahua, or you're having a discussion with an angry chihuahua behind a chain link fence. You know, it's not going to work out. But how did you go from outdoorsy stuff and just like the fun stuff that you do on your YouTube channel? So just for everybody to know,
Yeah, no, that's a good.
where I know you from is from Twitter. So I was surprised to find out about your YouTube channel. It's completely unrelated. So how do we go
Totally
from one to
unrelated,
the other?
and that's on purpose. Probably like most people, the first platform most of us adopted years ago was, say, Facebook. And I still go on Facebook, and that's where I used to post a picture to keep mom and dad appraised of what's going on. I got a LinkedIn profile, which is my professional resume, and then I had YouTube for hiking. And we got to remember, I'm 55, so I've been doing this maybe a little bit longer than some of the people that are watching. And there was a time where there was a very clear distinction between those different platforms, because on YouTube you didn't do live streams and things like that. So you posted a video of an adventure, let's say, and you put it on there, and so they were separate. And then Twitter came along later on, and I think I was a late adopter to Twitter because to be honest, I had a busy schedule. The young kids and everything else, and a growing family, and I focused on YouTube. And Twitter is a pretty modern apparition for me. And then if you want to be on Twitter, you got to be kind of there regularly. And I had a full-time job until about a couple of years ago when I started contracting and had more time. So I found I got more on Twitter. And sorry, folks, if we're glitching, and that's just going to be the fact.
Marty lives on a Hutterite commune up in Alberta, and has 17th century internet.
It is literally. I hate TELUS. But
I'm so glad the audio is coming through perfect, though. It, like, every once in a while, it keeps doing this thing. As we're getting ready for the show,
if we go with just voice at some point, or I don't know if I have something I can do here. We'll see if it settles out. It literally is the fact that my neighbors are turning on their computers and or getting on Netflix at the end of the day.
Is this confirmation that you are in fact a robot?
Yeah. Oh, maybe. Never thought of that. But back to Twitter. So Twitter I discovered later and started exploring it, and it does give you a voice, and Twitter can can replace a lot of things. And I was still in that mindset of staying separate. So Twitter is like, what do I do on Twitter? And actually, what I'm known on Twitter mostly is the engineering side of me, where I was, I really had a lot of fun with Twitter during COVID, busting the COVID myth. The misinformation. I spend a lot of time busting the misinformation on, and that's what I was known for, and a little bit of political banter and a little bit of humor, and a mixed match. Not a single track on Twitter. Definitely not a single track.
We got you back, by the way.
Perfect.
We've been hearing you the whole time, but
am I better looking?
Fair enough. So you took on a different role, a different personality altogether than you did on your YouTube. Now, I've noticed like a lot of these things. So I've been doing YouTube for a while. I've always tried to do like a brand thing. Like I don't separate my stuff. It's always, I don't touch Facebook really much at all. That's for boomers, right? Isn't that what they say?
Yeah.
But
I'm close to, but not.
So I try to do a brand thing. I try to keep things all under the same umbrella and branch out that way. I've never seen the concept of going, oh, this one is for this kind of thing specifically. This one's for that kind of thing specifically. That's an interesting take on doing social media.
They are separate. Yeah, no, I do keep them separate, and then I'll go one step further. Originally on YouTube, I called myself an outdoor guy, and to me outdoor meant mountains and canoeing. It meant walking, canoeing, paddling, skiing, anything outdoor. Mm-hmm. And then it was ridiculous because I started focusing because you can't please everyone all of the time. It's bizarre. So I'd post a hiking video, and then if I posted a snowshoeing video, people on the hiking video is like, hey, can you just stick to one genre and not all of them? I'm like, well, my genre is outdoor activity, but it got narrow and narrow and narrow. So frustrating, but I'm sticking with it. And I mean, and actually it makes me think of a point. People would, I'm not on YouTube to make money, because if I was on YouTube because I get asked that question, if I was in YouTube to make money, I would change with the trends. But I'm not interested in that. And then the different groups over time, as an example, I do hunt, and I know that if I wanted to focus on my hunting videos, I would make a lot more money. Instead of making $100 a month, I make 110. But so
big difference, yeah.
So yeah, so then but I like the hiking community. I like the hiking community, and it's also a hiking community that's close that I can interact with online, but in person. So I chose on purpose to stay with the hiking community because I like that community, and it's near and dear to me, and it's fun. So, but then we'll come back to Twitter, and yeah, Twitter. I haven't figured out what I am on Twitter. I'm still called Marty Up North, but then through humor and through learning about the manipulation and all those things, as I was trying to dispel some of the myths, that's why I became known. And you laugh every time you read my title. I'm Marty Up North's fact-checking twin brother kind of thing. and people who are familiar with Twitter know exactly why that is. I mean, I'm Marty Up North 2 because I had a Marty Up North 1, and I also had the original Marty Up North, and we're not going to get into it because I've been zapped. We all know about being zapped, and then the whole fact checking thing is a bullshit, but and so it's making fun of it. And I like that about Twitter because people change their handle to reflect certain topics. I love that. I totally love that. I love Twitter. I actually do like Twitter.
Well, it's funny because you mentioned that the other day. I was the first time I got a global warming or climate change warning on my video, and it was because I was talking about a radical group that is spreading the message to flatten people's SUV tires across the world.
I saw that. That's terrible.
And, and I don't know. It's probably just an automated thing. I said some certain keywords, and then they put a big warning on my video. Global warming's or climate change is a thing. It's happening. The IPCC says it is, and all that stuff. But I was just talking about don't flatten people's tires for your crazy religion.
Well, and sometimes they get their warnings completely wrong. I had that exact. I experienced that regularly, and I had one the other day where same thing. In fact, I thought the warning should have been purely COVID, but I got a global warming, and I'm like, wow, the algorithm really, you gotta, we gotta get on Twitter and do Jeopardy style tweets now, where you, pose the answer, and people have to figure out the question you're asking, and we'll fool the algorithms that way.
Wasn't that CNN? Wasn't it Project Veritas recently uncovered with CNN that they're talking behind the scenes? Oh, and we're done with COVID. It's boring. People don't care about it anymore. We're switching it to global warming. That's their what's the expression? If you let people, if you allow, the governments to bend the rules because there's a crisis, they will always invent a crisis. Governments do that, but not just governments. I worked in the oil industry my whole life. And I've seen management use that as a technique once in a while. It's like, let's create a little mini internal crisis, a little war, and then try and use that to rally the troops. It's a way to rally the troops. You can rally around a cause or a crisis or something, but our governments these days love to use crisis. And global warming or COVID is perfect for that. So it's a wag the dog kind of aspect. And the media can do it as well. I mean, even if it wasn't that the media was like hand and fist with the government, lockstep all the way, they have an incentive regardless to sensationalize, because people, when they're afraid or they're angry, that's when people pay attention the most.
Well, look at several events of the last couple of weeks. I mean, let's take the really big one, not mine, but other, Trudeau singing whatever Bohemian Rhapsody. You can't tell me that wasn't leaked on purpose. There's an event there. I mean, this is a closed door event where everybody's vetted, and I think it got leaked. You got another event this week where you got Pierre Poilievre, who gets chosen as leader and has his first press conference, and right off the bat you got David Atkins, who comes at him and starts heckling him. I know he was trying to bait him and maybe get Poilievre to say something bizarre, but no matter what, it made news, and it worked. And so if there's no news, then somebody will create news.
I recently discovered that I made a news article over that event. I wasn't mentioned specifically in the Toronto Star, but the reporter that reported on that mentioned that a YouTube personality had mentioned that David Atkins' actions were too much like Jim Acosta from the United States.
I don't know the context. I'm imagining Jim is a reporter. Is
Jim Acosta? He's famous for the not waiting his turn, shouting out and grandstanding in front of the whole press pool.
Yeah.
So he's the famous guy. So I compared the two in a funny way in one of my videos, and it made it to the Toronto Star. I thought that was funny. That's cool. Interestingly enough, that reporter is trying to reach out to me. But that's going to be a funny story when it develops. I can't wait. I can't wait until that turns out. We got a super chat from Unacceptable Fringe, which happens to be Derek Smith we were talking about earlier. It disappeared, and I have to find it. Geez, sorry about that. He says, Marty, the second best Calgarian in the history next to yours truly. He has the testicular fortitude to tell JT where to stick his monkeypox. And we had another one from Slosher for $10. Thank you so much, Slosher. No comment added to that one. I gotta figure out a way of getting back to these ones once they've disappeared.
They
bad.
scroll by pretty quickly, don't they?
I know, it's crazy. I'm not used to this. I do videos normally. Like normally my live streams are at the end of the week and it's just by myself, and I do videos in the morning by myself.
You're obviously getting big enough. You're going to need an assistant pretty soon who stands there next to you and manages you
I need a
people,
Jamie.
yeah, cool.
I need a Jamie. Jamie, pull that up. like Joe Rogan. But no, I'm not that big yet. We'll see. If Viva Fry can do it all by himself, I think I can pull it off. He's killing it.
Well, I've crawled my way up to Viva Fry. Now I want to go do maybe Jordan Peterson. I'm taking advantage of my 15 minutes of fame to do something very personal. And if I can get to with Jordan, I'll talk to Jordan. And then if I make it to Jordan and I can get to Joe Rogan, then I can die a happy man.
Well, let's talk about your 15 minutes of fame right here. Yeah. We have it right here. Canada Trends. Politics #1, Trudeau must go. Trending. This was a couple days ago, actually. Or they stopped showing the numbers on the trend. It stays at #1, but they'll say like trending with I stand with Trudeau. It's not trending with that, believe me. But this is the trend that you got starting, along with according to Trudeau. That was like the one thing that a lot of people were quoting in their own tweets.
I think Andy Lee is the one who used the word according to Trudeau in her tweet. You know, she mimicked my style, but she had a slight different sentence. And I think she was the first one to use the according to Trudeau. I don't think I had according to Trudeau in mine.
Oh, I caught you in a lie.
Oh, I do have according to Trudeau. I lied. Oh, okay. All right.
There it is. There it is. But this was the original tweet for everyone who hasn't seen this. If you don't know what the hashtag Trudeau must go or the according to Trudeau trend that took place starting, what was it, last Friday? That's when it really took off. It was like boom.
That's Tuesday morning that I did that around 9:00, and it started taking off pretty instantly.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it was #1 trend by the end of the week.
The timeline's cool, but yeah.
The timeline is good. There's literally hundreds of thousands of tweets and people sharing out personal little blurbs of themselves, a little bio, and then an according to Trudeau message. So I'm a 55-year-old Canadian. I'm married, father of 4, university educated, perfectly bilingual. I'm an engineer solving problems for 35 years, a volunteer, hockey coach, and an avid outdoorsman. According to Trudeau, I'm an extremist who needs to be dealt with. Hashtag Trudeau, and then sharing a photograph of yourself. Now, what prompted you to do this? Now, there is a conspiracy theory out there out there in the ether that you stole this idea from somebody else. Is there any?
And we'll get to that. And the idea is not original, but I mean, you know, a very original idea is almost non-existent. You know, the tweet almost never happened because I was supposed to go hiking, but I happened to be home on Tuesday morning, and I was just doing the normal banter with somebody on Twitter, and the topic of a particular video from Trudeau back in the election campaign of September last year came up. And I don't know if you have a way to bring up that video, but we don't need to because I can paraphrase the video.
Yeah.
And you know, so Trudeau's on a talk show in Quebec, and you know, I'll paraphrase him, but he says at one point, he says, our way out of the pandemic is through vaccination, but there are still people, and we know there are people who are still fiercely opposed to vaccination. Then the hostess, you know, pipes in. She's like, they're extremists. And then Trudeau,
mind you, this is all in French, right?
Yeah, it's all in French. And Trudeau says, yeah, and they're often anti-science and misogynistic and racist. And then he keeps talking, and he goes on. He's like, which leads me to ask the question as leader of this country, do we tolerate those people? And then he goes on further to give a gold star to the Quebecers listening. He's like, but you because you Quebecers here, 80% of you chose to be vaccinated. You did the right thing.
Yeah, but 20% of them are racist, misogynists, and all
the whole bit. You bet. And then
it's a lot of people.
Oh yeah, and so I'm just the debate, the engagement with whoever ends, and then I'm thinking about that, and I'm going like bullshit, you know, like bullshit. Like, I mean, I'm aware of the video. I've seen it. It's been brought up many times, but I, at that point, I really dissected it. And maybe the first time I heard it, certain subsequent events hadn't occurred. But now, between the first time I heard it and now, there was the truck convoy, there's the arrive can, there's all sorts of other crap going on. And I'm reading this and replaying it in my head and going, bullshit, 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 and so I'm unvaccinated, and I don't think it matters, but
no, it's a personal choice, right?
It's a personal choice. But what triggered is like, how dare you broadly brush everybody with a stereotype. You're stereotyping people, which is crap, and then your stereotypes crap anyways. Saying that people who are against the vaccine are typically anti-science. You might as well say that people who eat meat typically listen to Sarah McLachlan. I mean, they're completely unrelated. They're ridiculous. But his choice, so he picks an anti-science because he's always going the believe the science bullshit,
right?
And then he throws in a couple of real deep slanders like misogynistic and racist, which we've heard him repeat. And I took a personal offense. I'm like, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. And so and to say, do we tolerate these people? Now I'm getting chills going down my spine because I'm like, wow, somebody's wondering if I should be tolerated. That sends a chill down my spine, and that should make anybody who hears that angry or scared, because the debate in Canada of whether a group or minorities is tolerable we settled that 100 years ago, right?
Well, what is the inevitability of that argument, though? Like, what? So he never gets into that.
We could all become
he never gets into that exactly, though. But like, if you say the words, "Do we tolerate something or somebody?" The inevitability of that is what? Round them all up, throw them in concentration camps. Like what? That's what immediately goes to people's minds, right? That's
why I say you should be. Absolutely, you should be scared of it. Maybe we don't throw you in a concentration camp, but we limit you, and then you go, "Wow, they're doing it. He's doing it."
Right, but this is rhetorically, it's crazy. Like to give that sort of rhetoric and be so just insane about it
and be applauded for it. I mean, the audience was like cheering him on. I'm like, well, okay. So anyways, let's not get totally distracted by that, because well, we could. I mean, God, we could talk for 3 hours on this whole. But so Marty just says, you know what, bullshit. This is not me. So I'm formulating this thing in my head. I'm like, this guy thinks I'm a. So I'm literally sending a tweet, and in my mind on Tuesday morning, I'm sending it to Trudeau. So if it's like, look, Trudeau, I'm 55. I'm an engineer. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a volunteer in my community. And you think that I need to be dealt with.
Yeah, I'm a regular guy. I'm run of the mill. I'm what you would normally consider a success case. Why am I the villain here?
And I've seen all the other techniques used by people. I can attack, I can defend, I can do this. I'm like, nope. You know what? I'm going to try and make this personal. You you go back on I'll put you on the offensive. You tell me why I'm your enemy. You know what I mean? And so, but before you go through all of those real quick, because that's a great part of the story. But just before I hit send, I in my mind, I'm sending a message to Trudeau. So I'm going to pick a hashtag, and that's rare that I do that, because if you look at my history of tweets, there is not a lot of hashtags, because I'm used to, because I'm defending the COVID narrative. I'm used to always cut and pasting and putting references to my information, because I'm scared shitless that if I wander too far from the narrative, I'm going to get zapped. So I'm not even in the habit of putting hashtags, but I got to put a hashtag. So it's like, I start typing Trudeau must go. It's kind of like in my head, I'm saying it in French instead of saying. So it's weird, but it was the French version of what I wanted to say that got translated.
And how would you say that? I'm not a French speaker, so.
En français, I'd say il faut que tu partes. You have to go.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking il faut que tu partes. You have to go. Okay, you have to go. But if I just say you have to go, So then I'm like, Trudeau, you have to go. No, so Trudeau must go. It's weird how it came about, but the tag existed, and I don't claim any. And so that became, that'll play in a minute when we go to the next step. But I'm not claiming to have invented the tag. You can't pick an original tag anymore. I mean, I do it all the time. If I want to get a little bit of attention and I'm doing a video on backpacking and I'm climbing a mountain, I'm like, climbing mountains high, climbing mountains here, climbing mountains in Alberta. I mean, they all pop up. So anything that starts with Trudeau is going to appear. But anyways, I do this, send it into the ether, and go outside and go mow my lawn. Go do some acreage work. I got to go stoke the fire because it's getting cold in Alberta, and my internet.
So you literally went and touched grass.
literally, like I left because you won't see a tweet from me after that for like 6 hours.
I think that's so funny because that's what I tell people on Twitter when they start losing their mind. I just tell them to go touch grass. Yeah, that's literally what you did. You totally tweeted out and then touch grass.
Well, I had a garden that I have to go and harvest because the frost is coming. I got a bunch of things to do. So, and then I come back inside. 6 hours later, I get back on Twitter to look at it, and I'm like, the first thing that strikes me is that at this point I have 8,000 followers. Like, who am I, right? I'm an 8,000 follower guy, and now I got like 1,000 likes, which that's remarkable. I mean, I said something that resonates. That's really cool. And then I got lots of comments. I mean, my notification is just ding, 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 and I'm actually getting replies to that tweet. And then I'm seeing a ton of retweets. And you and I who are on these platforms, we kind of start to understand what these things mean. And I'm like, okay, am I being racial because I'm getting all these comments? No, I'm not being racial. Wow,
they're all positive.
They're all positive. I'm like, holy smokes! So and then the next thing that's fabulous is that people took it upon themselves and said, hey, I feel like Marty, I'm going to do my own picture, my own twist on it. And I'm going to use that hashtag, and those are the ones you can you were showing those. Show a couple of those. I mean, it's brilliant.
Yeah, there's
not brilliant, but it's
so many people, and it's all the same sort of idea. They're sharing
but if you read them, right? Somebody said that I sent a template on how to do it. That comes later in the story. It's like,
okay,
no, I did not send a template.
Well, it's not really a template. It's a description of people giving their age, their name. Well, they have their name up in the top, so they give their age, what it is that they are and do, and then go on to how Trudeau has labeled people like them. So this is David Johnson saying, I'm 37-year-old father and husband. I support the right for people to choose their own path. This new type of mRNA, I don't know if I can say this line on YouTube, but there's a lot of good data to support his claim on Twitter, despite it being pushed excessively. I'm a deplorable and an extremist too. Hashtag Trudeau must go.
An extremist too, yeah. That's a really neat twist on it, right?
Yeah. So people are taking their own thing. I mean, it in itself is kind of formulaic. So I mean, like, it's not that there's,
sure.
It's not that there's like a memo that went out. Now, if you go back,
the liberals tried to make it sound like there was a memo. We'll get to that, but right now I'll just say it. At some point somebody provided a fake template and they said, "Here's the template they use. Insert your name, insert your virtuous contribution to society, and insert your victimhood." I'm like, oh my god, like, wow.
Well, it's like the pot calling the kettle black at this point.
Yeah.
Here we go. I'm a 39-year-old post-secondary educated, hardworking, reliable, tax-paying citizen. I'm a father and a husband and facility manager. However, according to my Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, I'm an extremist that needs to be dealt with. Hashtag Trudeau must go. Look at this beautiful couple here. It just keeps going on and on and on. Just amazing people, all seeming like great people that I'd want to have a beer with. You know what I mean?
There are
folks.
Tens of thousands. It's not a handful. It's tens. Who is that one? That one looks familiar.
Do you look familiar?
Is that an American?
Most of my buddies look like that, like you. Glasses, beard.
Yeah. But there's literally tens of thousands, like of I would say very yeah, I mean, somebody did a small compilation. They did a video where during the video it's one of those postcards like that every 2 seconds, and the video is 20 minutes long, so that's 600 in a 20-minute video. And so
Wow.
and by the way, all conservative people or people who believe in this movement are all good looking. That's I don't care what you say, but there's some really beautiful people in Canada. Like
Oh,
we
look at this
are,
handsome
and
man. He
the
should be on a
pictures are all amazing.
calendar, getting all the
Probably
ladies excited, right there. Some videos there. But this is the thing, they're not
Well,
all
that's Danielle
conservatives.
Smith. That's Danielle Smith. I don't know if you noticed, like as you're scrolling, she's probably going to be the next premier of the province of Alberta.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Now, it's not all
So
conservatives though. So like I don't see this as a
no,
conservative movement. There's a lot of people who are disaffected liberals. There's disaffected NDPs that are definitely not happy with what.
let's talk about that just for a quick second.
Yeah.
So as I'm getting these tweets, you and I know this. We no matter what, we live in a bit of an echo chamber, and people have something in common. So generally, the comments I'm going to get are from followers.
Yeah.
But now I'm getting, like, if I'm getting 20,000 comments, it's more than the number of followers I have. And now I'm like, whoa, this is breaking down like political boundaries, cultural boundaries, sexual orientation, livelihood, provincial, geographic. I mean, it's breaking down because I am seeing stuff that I never would have seen. A fireman from Toronto doesn't usually follow Marty up north. And so
Right.
it broke down huge boundaries. It was crazy. And so that's just day one.
That
The
was
fun
just.
stuff starts on day two.
Oh, okay. Where does it go from there?
Well, actually, I don't want to. I want to say this though. What the thing that happened almost immediately after that caught me off guard. So it got retweeted, but then I started getting a ton of DMs and all sorts of other communications, and now people were. It's like I not only had I made something that resonated with them, but now people wanted to talk to me and tell me their stories. And then the thing that 7 days into this, I've learned that the reason it resonated with Canadians is they are feeling dehumanized and demonized by this government, and they've had enough. That's one thing. And then the other thing I was wondering is, like, if you look at that trend, I was like, good luck in the next political campaign, Trudeau, because you think that these are all anti-vaxxers, but in fact, they're not anti-vaxxers. What they have in common is they're very intelligent. They're tired of being pushed around, but there's another subset in there, which is really alarming. They've been hurt. And people have been hurt. The ones that have been texting me, I had no idea the extent of damage that this government had done to people. I had no idea because, we all suffered through COVID. I had a kid who couldn't graduate. I couldn't go to their graduations, remote graduation. I suffered from employment, things like that. But I'll be honest with my fellow Canadians, Marty up north did good during COVID. He managed through it pretty nicely, because he's got his own network. I'm pretty resilient, and I have like-minded people around here who share my values, and we got through it fairly unscathed. I'm shocked at the extent of damage that was done. And I think that is part of the story. And one of the reasons the government wants to hide this. It's not just to get reelected. They have to hide the damage that they've done, because I heard horrible stories. I mean, horrible, that make you want to cry, we discharge dishonorably like upwards of 10,000 Canadian Forces soldiers and personnel for refusing this. We discharge nurses, police officers, parents coaches who coach their little league from the other side of a chain link fence, business owners who were threatened to the point where the police would come to their doorstep and hit them with a summons of $600 day after day after day. I talked to a lady who's like, I have $60,000 of fines that I'm fighting, but it's stressed my marriage to the breaking point. So those horrible stories, and there's some worse ones than that. It's horrible what the government did to us. Horrible.
Yeah.
And they want, and so that was day 1 and 2.
That's insane. I mean I knew about so many people suffering through a lot of it. I'm a lot like yourself. I'm a mechanic, so the shop was deemed as
Yep.
necessary, or what were they calling people? They're calling people
Non-essential or
non-essential
essential.
or essential. And
Yep.
I thought that was the most degrading thing to put on people, is to call somebody
Totally.
non-essential. Like you're not essential to the things. And I ended up using it as a derogatory statement to people who were so like crazy on Twitter, with the vitriol. And I'd say,
Yeah.
you're non-essential. And they'd be like,
Yeah.
wow, you can't say, well, yeah, you went along with that idea. I'm an essential person, apparently, according to this government that you love so much. I don't get it. I can't get on board with that concept, even though like I said, I did quite well. We never stopped working. Most of it was just dealing with the hypocrisy of people. There was a lot of people, most people just trying to get through it. There was a lot of people with the bumper stickers, "I support the frontline workers," with a filthy car full of masks laying all over the place as I'm getting in it. Like, you don't care, the frontline workers at all. But I mean, we all got through it. We did the things that we had to do. I want to say I didn't have the short end of the stick. I didn't have it so bad, but I definitely want to.
And I say the same thing.
And I want to stick up for all the people who did have it bad, though. I want to give them the opportunity to voice their concerns, or at least not have their concerns be just dismissed outright. Like what's happening so often on social media. I see it all the time. What, you couldn't go to a restaurant? That's the derogatory thing.
Or traveling is a privilege, or whatever. It's like, come on, like, it's not.
It isn't.
It isn't. So day two is where it got bizarre, because I wake up on day two and it's still trending. Now it's climbing, and now people are sending me texts, go like, they're doing screenshots and going, "Marty, it's at 150,000 retweets, it's at 200 or whatever." And then somewhere along that evening, somebody tapped on the shoulders of Gerald Butts and said, "Gerald, like, something's happening." And then Gerald says, "Oh, I've been made aware of this, but it's just a bot campaign." So then stubborn little Marty, naive little Marty, says, "Oh, okay, well, I sent a text. I tagged Gerald, or I answered to Gerald when he made that comment. I just went in there and said, 'Gerald, I'm the guy, Marty, who apparently appears like I started this trend. I'm not a robot.'" And then he comes back an hour later, saying something else. So then I literally felt that I needed to really prove that I wasn't a robot. That's just me being stubborn. And that's the video where I grabbed the video, put it on my face, walked in the backyard, and I'm literally talking to Gerald Butts and Dean Blundell, saying, "Hey guys, like, this is my backyard. Look at my barn, and here's my dog barking," and so forth. And then I post that video. If you can find that one, because I want to make one comment about that one.
Okay, so I have the video, but let's look at a little bit of the timeline here. So Gerald Butts, he puts out, the real question is, who's paying for this campaign? Question mark. According to Trudeau, according to Biden, and he includes some other thing that wasn't even trending at the time. Sending a ton of bots to insist this isn't a campaign is not a super strong strategy. So a lot of people obviously replying. There's a lot of Gerald Butts reply guys. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah. There are a lot of people that have tried to make a Twitter career out of replying to this guy. I don't know why this guy, but that's been his strategy all along. But there's a reply. So the one that you gave to him. So I'll play this.
Yeah, you don't need to play that one. I mean, you can play a bit. It's just funny. It's just Marty in his backyard.
Well, this is So this is you saying this is for GM Butts, and it's Dean Blundell. I can't believe you tried to take on Dean Blundell. He's a character on Twitter. I started the most recent hashtag Trudeau must go trend. Hear why. Any journalists who want to talk, just DM me. This is the real story.
Look how naive I am, right? Yeah, and then look at the end. "Sorry if I sound mad." And people have said that, like, Trudeau does that to you, and people are like, Marty, like you're so freaking quintessentially Canadian. You're fighting somebody.
Sorry
but
about
in the middle
it.
of the fight, you're apologizing
For sounding too
for getting
angry
mad.
about it. That's too funny. So Gerald Butts replied to you saying, I
Yeah.
don't doubt Marty's real. I don't doubt that he believes he started this thing, which started in the US days before he thinks he started it. Sadly, this is being used by whom? Who's the conspiracy theorist here? Who's throwing out the conspiracy theories, saying that it was already started days before. Now, the counter signal running an article here saying Butts blames anti-Trudeau Twitter trend on bot accounts. It sounds so. I made a video saying that this was a cope. It was just a big cope, like coping with the fact that Trudeau and his cohort are not popular in Canada. They're a dying breed anymore, in the eyes of popularity anyway.
Yeah, they're exhausting their the Trudeau name has exhausted its political capital, I think. But so so for me, that was a big discovery. That's my second discovery out of this, is that the liberal machine that's trying to suppress the any opposition to them is powerful, because there were other things that happened after that. The disappearance and reappearance of the tag on the trend line. And then it became obvious that they were manipulating the Trudeau must go. I mean, if you retweeted and you entered Trudeau must go, it auto finished for you and Trudeau must go on. So it's like, oh, backspace. So it's like, oh my God, what's going on? And so
I know it's a similar topic, but one that really drives me nuts with Twitter is anytime you type in hashtag Canada, it auto fills to Canada Drag Race. And it drives me.
I've never tried that.
It drives me bonkers because I put Canada in almost all my video tweets, and no, not Canada Drag Race. I don't, and I've never seen that trending, so I don't know why it autofills on the top. It's ridiculous to me.
Somebody paid big bucks, obviously.
Let Gerald know about that one, because maybe he's got a conspiracy theory to talk about.
And then the comedy is the bots that reply back. So then the bot army comes attacking us. And I mean, I made fun of. I picked out a couple of those and I screenshotted those and posted about those. You're getting a. There was one that was so precious. It said something like it replied on somebody's comments and it said, "Do better." To me, it commented on one of my tweets and it said, "Do better." And then I look at it, it's like, oh my God, you're a brand new account with followed by nobody, but you're following 5 people. 0. You're followed by nobody, like zero. So so the bots are coming.
Do better though. What a schmarmy smug little tweet, right?
Yeah.
It drives me how schmarmy people can be, but that's Twitter. That's Twitter, and it's fun.
No,
so
it's Twitter.
I chalk those accounts up to being either a bot, as in like it's not a real human being tweeting these things out, and this actually exists. There are APIs that have many accounts.
I worked for IBM for a year on artificial intelligence for Watson. Dude, I can tell you stories of what's capable right now. Like, they are real bots for sure, and they can emulate personalities. I mean, you call the front hotel in Las Vegas. You're not talking to a human being. You're actually talking to a computer, and you wouldn't know it.
That's incredible. But there is another option in that arsenal, and that's the sock accounts. And not everybody understands the lingo here that's in the chat. So a sock account is essentially someone who's on Twitter, maybe has a verified status, or this is their usual Twitter account, but they'll have a separate account that they give their schmarmy tweetbacks or replies using. So it's a alternate account that people will use. And I always call people out if I see what's obviously a sock account. I'll just say, reply to me with your real account or GTFO.
Yeah, and I mean, if you really want to, you could, you can create 16 Gmail accounts and open up 16 Twitter accounts and manage them all 16 simultaneously.
Isn't that just a headache? Wow. And I'm easy with one. I'm good with one, and that's it. I don't want any more.
Yeah. So and so then phase 3, which is the one we're into now, is no it's a story, right? Like I said, if I put the binder of all the people who sent me something, the binder is now like, 200, let's say 50,000 pictures, 50,000 stories, and I
It's
walk
that
out to
thick,
the
yeah.
media and I go, look, I got 50,000 stories here. Does anybody want to run a story on this? And nobody would touch it with a 10-foot pole. Nobody. Like, and I made out
Hmm.
behind the scenes offers to what I thought were decent journalists, and I sent it out. So that's where you come in, and all you guys came in and saw the story, because for you a story is a story and you're genuine, and so you're going to follow it. And
Yeah.
so the independents picked up on it, and then the scale of the independents got up. So cool, dude, then you're in the higher up, because you're in the second tranche of independents that I've been talking to. So you're the bigger guys now, because the really little guys were the only ones who would talk to me at first. Maybe that's positive or negative. Well, let's leave it as it's really positive.
Okay. Okay.
No bullshit around. It's positive. The fact that you're talking to me is actually refreshing, positive, and everybody, and I will reciprocate. I will tell everybody, get off these other platforms and really start following the independents, because it's the only place you're going to get some good stuff.
Well, I see the
So
mainstream media as there'd be like a press junket, and maybe one person breaks a story, and then everybody else just kind of clamors for that same story and reiterate the same thing. I mean,
yeah,
I've been watching the news for a really really long time. I got disenfranchised back in, I think it was '04, when uh, Ron Paul got just lambasted when he was running his campaign, and it was totally unfair. And then that opened my eyes to like the whole media apparatus being just a facade. Like
yeah,
they're not professional. They're not looking out
no.
for the truth. They're not trying to report what's actually happening.
There's a few, but I
They're very far
mean,
between.
overwhelmingly, yeah. And then we even went as far, because I say we now because I have a few people that are same thing, getting passionate about this and trying to help. And so let's reach out to a couple of people, and but at the same time, let's also show how bad this is. So the one that was fun with is Rachel Gilmore. I mean, she was annoying the shit out of me in my feed so much lately, and so I'm like, all right, let's play with her a little bit. So
Happy
I told
Gilmore.
everybody,
Oh goodness, she's
yeah.
she's
So I
she's a
told I
character.
told every yeah, I told everybody, cut and paste your story and put it in her timeline, and then so she got 1,000, literally 1,000 stories. The binder, we gave her the binder, and what did she run with yesterday? Uh, NyQuil and chickens. Like look up Rachel's freaking timeline on Twitter for yesterday. So maybe she's just not
That was
focusing
her
on
that
it, but
wrote
maybe
that. I saw that story. I was like, oh, somebody's really grabbing at,
I'm like, I'm handing you. You could literally become a real hero. You could become an absolute real. You could become the Aaron Brockovich or whatever. You could become the. Wow. Oh, actually, what a great parallel, because it's almost the Julia Roberts. Rachel has that wannabe model bullshit. Oh God. Oh, I missed that one.
I didn't know
Shit.
who she was at first, and I was like, who puts duck face in their bio when they're like a professional?
Oh, God. Well, then, so we
Like, why would
sent
you do
her a
that face?
thousand things. Yeah. We sent her 1,000, and she completely ignored us. And people said she's going to ignore us. I'm like, yeah, but at least we'll prove once and for all that she's completely biased. And then today, I'm like, look, she didn't respond. So, and if she comes over and asks, I'll be like, forget it. It's done. I mean, I had hope for Dean Blundell. I kind of thought, Dean, you're a shock jock who doesn't even like Trudeau. Why wouldn't you go with this story? And Dean, he almost threw an olive branch at one point, but then probably behind his team goaded him on, kind of like, oh, come on, Blundell, you're not going to give up. You started the fight, you can't lose. And so I think he was close.
Yeah, Dean Blunder.
And
I don't
it's
know.
not a coincidence that I picked on Dean at first, because I thought you fit the profile. I'll give you a story, a real story. You're a story hog, so here's a story. But he didn't go with it.
So Dean Blundell, he's this guy here
Blundell, yeah.
on Twitter. He ran a story. I don't have it up right now, but do you remember Joe Walsh? She was the lovely old lady who got sentenced to I think it was a land border crossing, but
border, that's what I meant. Border.
Yeah, so she was harangued by, first she was sentenced to 14 days quarantine, then she was harangued by the PHAC, FAC as I like to call it, is spelled that way, it's going to get pronounced that way. What the FAC is that? But they sorry, that didn't make the acronym. They made it. But this guy ran a story saying that she was a paid actress. No citation, no proof whatsoever. Just said, claimed that she was a paid actress from a paid school of crisis actresses. And that was his shtick. His take on
he
social
quoted
media
me forever and ever and ever. It's like, Marty, you're a bot, you're a nobody, you're a bot. Unless you tell me your name, address, employer. I'm like, give me a break. That's a bullshit game. What's your address, Dean? Tell us your home address. Come on, big boy. What an idiot. What an idiot.
Well, so when I saw that, I tweeted out, I said, wow, this guy's literally what everyone is accusing Alex Jones of right now. He's actually writing an article about that, about paid actors in crisis actors and whatnot. I'm going to digress. I don't need to talk about this guy all night.
No. So anyways, which brings us basically to now, the wave is subsiding. Well, actually, that was another interesting thing I did. The battle of the hashtags. I put out an organic growth graph, that showed the tweets per day, and you can see it. It's a blue screen or a blue background graph that I have on my trend line somewhere, but
I should pull that up.
And it showed that we hit 37,000 retweets an hour, and then you could see the nighttime decrease in activity, and then all of a sudden you see a flattening. And if you added the Bohemian Rhapsody, it's petering out in terms of hashtag trending, but it's nowhere near petering out in terms of retweets. It's just that now there's a mixed match of all sorts of tweets or hashtags being used. So the movement's healthy right now. It's very healthy.
Yeah. So
that's 1.9 million.
Yeah, it's still trending at 10K. And what is it, 2,000 before it hits trend?
Something like that. So if you add that up, that's not even and then that's only a 7-day slice. So it keeps it's going to start decreasing now, because the cumulative number, because they only report on the last 7 days kind of thing. But it peaked out at about 2.2 million over a 7-day period, which is pretty good.
2.2, yeah. At the time of this tweet, it was 1.99. Yeah, that's a lot of people using that hashtag. Now, when that one seems to get suppressed, it seems like a bunch of other ones start trending immediately. Everybody will start tweeting with multiple ones and the suppressed one at the same time.
Well, and the funny one is Twitter's the humans are fabulous, so the counter to Trudeau must go is generally the I stand with Trudeau. Right. And so then people did the same format of my tweet, and they put a story of themselves, but they would make it terrible. And then therefore that's why so I'm racist. I'm, put a picture of Omar Khadr and say, I'm racist, I kill people, I'm ugly, blah, blah. And therefore I stand with Trudeau. So then the Trudeau guys are bragging that they're trending. It's and nobody else is going to notice that except the guy like me, who's so deep in the middle of that storm right now.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so it's like the battle. So, but vice versa, I'm sure there's people who are making fun using that hashtag. So
I didn't notice that because I
we
see those
digress.
I stand with
Yeah.
Trudeau hashtag, and I'm like, I'm not even looking at that. It's just gonna get me.
Yeah.
It's gonna get me frustrated with just the dumb stuff people are saying. But
No. Like,
I gotta start.
it's
I
funny.
gotta start leafing through those.
Yeah.
Because there
So,
was
yeah.
one. It was I think it was a Pierre Polyev one that was trending. Polyev is a coward. Was trending the other day, so I added to it and I said, people are trending Pierre Polyev as a coward from their bot accounts or sock accounts because they're such brave souls. You know what I mean? I got a lot of vitriol because as soon as you tweet on the other side's hashtag, they go after you. It's hilarious.
Totally.
It's a lot of fun. We've got a few super chats here I just want to jump and get to.
Go for it.
Before we move on too far. I see Unacceptable Fringe is getting a little annoyed that I'm not replying or at least reading them out. He gives a $10 super chat, says, notice Clyde said he was talking about me prior to the stream. It's all negative, 100%. Seriously, though. Props to Marty. And if you're looking to get on Peterson, DM me. I know people that can help. Get people that can help me too, my man. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I got lots of people apparently that can help, but so far nothing's bared fruit. But Peterson's a busy man.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. Yeah, he's with Daily Wired now, and he's doing content nearly every single.
They picked up. I had a great retweet because of Daily Wire. They had a nice story, really nice story.
Oh, I got to check that out. That's for sure. Sean Goss he has a super chat. It says, "Hi Clyde, I've noticed replies to comments on your YouTube criticism of Liberal government has been getting shadow banned. Only way to see is through the reply notification. I need to look into that because I've heard that a couple of times already today. Some people were making me aware of that on Twitter. EDM Doc says, for your Friday night beer fun, cheers from Van Island. Thank you so much. For those that don't know, I do streams on Friday night, and then afterwards I hang out in the Discord with the community, and we have what I like to call wobbly pops, just to keep things safe on YouTube so I don't get banned. Funis says, welcome to the reservation. Thank you so much, Funis. Rainmaker says, didn't Butts resign February 18th, 2019? Deep State has not gone anywhere. Absolutely correct. He is still in the mix of all of it, even though he's resigned. That is the swamp, as some people like to call it. Val says, howdy, Clyde. Canadian love from Texas. Thank you for interviewing the J-Turd Kryptonite. Nice. Perfect. Thank you, Texas. I love Texas, and I've always wanted to go there, so it's one of these days it'll happen. Apparently, we're allowed to leave the country now, so as of the 30th of September. Unacceptable Fringe.
But will the Americans allow us in? That's the next thing that we need to make sure there's no trouble going in, so...
Oh, that's a good point. That is a really good point.
Yeah.
Unacceptable Fringe says, Clyde refuses to read my super chat, so I'll just keep going. If Marty wants to get on Peterson, DM me. I know a guy that can make it happen. All right, fair enough. Kevin Watson.
The new commodity, knowing a guy who's in journalism or who's, the new commodity.
I know a guy. Oh, but that's the thing. So I get it. A lot of people that know me, not very well, but they'll say, I know a guy. He's a mechanic. I know a guy. And like, don't know me my day off. But Kevin Watson says, damn bot donated my money again with a 666 super chat. Mark of the Beast. It's coming, ladies and gents. Tammy Jubinville, you're the best, Clyde. Not so bad yourself, Marty. Thanks for sharing your story. Perfect. Duncan Girl, great episode tonight. Thank you so much, all you guys, for your super chats. Amazing turnout, honestly.
Yeah,
we've got a big audience watching, but honestly, what an amazing story. I love the fact that this went not just Canadian. So this went international briefly. So I reported on this on one of my videos saying that this actually went across borders what started trending
Oh, were you the
was
one who was mispronouncing the name, like translating the Trudeau the Dutch version?
I brutalize all things that are
You
not English.
showcased the Dutch, the Australian, and the New Zealand ones, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I'm getting
the
confused because I've
Australian
watched so
one,
many
and
things lately.
there was
But
the
yeah,
Australian one as well. Dan must
yeah.
go, and Ruta, I think is Ruta.
That's the one. That's
Ruta
the one. Yeah.
Motweg. I don't know how to say it actually. I'm I'm terrible at pronunciation. I got told that I say Polyev wrong. I had to start saying it Polyev because I was trying to do some weird pronunciation with French. I don't know. There's too many I's, R's, and all that stuff in people's names. I'm lost.
I've never heard him say it, so that's the best way. I mean, once I hear, I say Poiliev, which is very French, but he might not be French, so he might pronounce it differently.
Poiliev.
An example of that is there's a French name called Lefebvre, and but then it's been brutally anglicized to Lefevre, and I've met guys who are like, yeah, like I've never heard of Lefebvre. My name's Lefevre. I was like, I got it. No worries.
I've heard Lafleur being pronounced Laffer. That was another
Laffer.
one.
Yeah.
Guy Laffer. That was cracked me up. The pronunciation, the famous hockey player, the great one, Guy Lafleur.
Did he pass away?
Yes, he did.
He did, yeah.
But a lot of people, a lot of announcers and stuff didn't know how to say his name right, so they called him Guy Laffer. So I mean, pronunciation is not my strong suit. I brutalize it all the time, absolutely all the time. So that's just not my strong suit. But that's the thing. So seeing
maybe
it go,
being shadow banned. Maybe that's why I'm disappearing. Maybe somebody is plugging into our conversation right now.
Maybe,
yeah, I was told that.
Maybe it's Butts.
I was told in no uncertain terms that I was being investigated. I talked to a very trustworthy, knowledgeable individual that I've known for a long time, and I asked him a couple of questions, and he said at this point they can't. They still found a way to demonize the truck convoy. Big trucks, ugly, the honk, making noise, disturbing private citizens, and so that they were still able to counter that. But this one, he said they can't spin this in a positive light for Trudeau. There's nothing they can do about it, and the only thing they can do at this point is try and discredit you, Marty. And so they're going to dig into your background. And that's where they would have found my videos of me plowing my driveway, chopping firewood, and doing things. I mean, I was thinking in my mind, what's the worst things you can find? You can find some tweets of mine that are perhaps offensive, but and so I was told that, and so now they have no choice. Their only strategy is to distract from this or to just ignore it. And I think right now they're perhaps distracting, but they also, everybody knows it is a trend, whatever, it will come and go, but it's gained momentum. And I want to say this, I think the real change was the truck, the Freedom Convoy. I think that was a pivotal moment. And in talking in the last 7 days, a group of Canadians is very interesting, and maybe you have the same observation, but the Canadians who immigrated here from behind the Iron Curtain, people who live behind the Iron Curtain, they see all this, and there's nothing new for them. Like this, in fact, they're shocked that we don't know our history, and we're watching this unfold. And I talked to an older lady, a lawyer, who had come from behind the Iron Curtain. And, she said that we endured in the Iron Curtain, a generation of this stuff. And the Russians before that had endured almost 2 generations. And she's like, this psychosis and this control can go on for generations. And like I said, the rescue won't come from anywhere else. The rescue for the Germans came from within. I thought naively at some point, maybe, we live next door to this giant freedom-loving democracy, and maybe they'll come to our rescue. God, instead of coming to our rescue, they like Joe Biden. I'm like, oh, okay, we're done now. But so the help from outside is not coming, so we have to do it from inside. from inside, it doesn't take a very huge movement. It takes like a 5, 6, 10% of the population, then you will bust this this tyranny. And this lady said that if it hadn't been for she's convinced that if it hadn't been for the truck convoy, we'd be in a very different place today. And I 100% support
Absolutely
her.
agree
And she
that.
thinks that different place might be actually evil and worse. So I think we're onto something. And I'm not, and I wasn't that guy. I really wasn't that political guy. I watched a convoy. Like I said, I wasn't engaged or affected enough to feel that I truly needed to get engaged. I thought I was perhaps naive and I'm just going to vote. But now, after witnessing what I've witnessed, being in the center of this weird storm,
Mm-hmm.
we got to get engaged. I'm telling everybody, we got to get engaged. We got to get engaged. So that's why I'm so glad I'm here, and we got to get engaged, man. I've joined the club now. It's not a conspiracy, man. There's an evil enemy that's trying to oppress us.
Well, and they're calling it a populist movement. I like to call it people coming to grips with their civic duty to actually be involved in politics. It's not this evil populism that they're saying it is. But this is the industry of the propagandist, right? Their job is to squash dissent. Their job is to propagate false narratives, different ideas, things that aren't actually happening. I don't believe for a second the majority of Canadians believe that the trucker convoy was this big bad thing that the media is narrating to them. I think a lot of people see right past it, but they just zip it because they don't want the argument. And they know that at the end of the day, they're going to go to the voting booth and they're going to vote accordingly. And not only that, I was reporting this morning on how the news is using these polls to try to guide people, these bogus polls. Either they're doing these polls and they're legitimately false polls, like because people are just not responding to them on one side, and only on one side are responding to them, which is what led to the 2016 election big upset. People like me knew that this was not an upset. We saw the culture, like Breitbart said years ago. He said the politics is downstream from culture. The culture is going to change, and the culture has been changing on the ground level for some time, and people are fed up with it. And they're looking for a way to get out of the way that the establishment is pushing everybody. And these are the methods, and this is the methodology to do so.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to study that quote and think about that one. Say that again. Politics is downstream of culture, or vice versa? Politics
is downstream from culture. The culture changes, and then politics is slow to catch on to it.
Okay.
Because they're trying to guide it. Yeah. They're trying to steer the ship. But the ship is set a course. It's happening.
Yeah. Fascinating. Yeah, no, thank you. And it's been a crazy experience for me. I mean, and I'm going to be honest with people. It is crazy, and it is draining. I'm emotionally drained at this point, and but I'm in the fight now. I'm in this fight. I'm going to be in this fight because it's some of the stuff I heard. I have to be in this fight now.
Amazing. Well, it's good to have you as part of this fight, and a much better beard than I even have as well. You can ride us right into battle with that Leonidas beard. Anyway, tell people where they can find you on the social medias, where you'd like them to hang out with you online.
Well, hang out with me on Twitter, absolutely. So I'm Marty up north _2, and I'm pretty easy to find. And I mean, if you want to come visit what I'm doing on YouTube, it's the same thing. It's Marty up north, just Marty up north. I don't engage as much on YouTube. YouTube is more passive. It's just a video of my adventures, and it comes in ebbs. I get a lot of popularity on YouTube during hiking season when people are researching places to go. So if there's anybody listening tonight who's into hiking or wants to discover hiking, or has already been in hiking and wants to discover new places, my thing on YouTube is that I hike in unpopular places, and I tend to go longer, and I tend to go solo. And if somebody reaches out to me and wants an opinion or some advice, I love that part of YouTube. I'll gladly give advice on hiking and where to go all day long. Otherwise, if you want to engage with me politically, please, that I love that part. Actually, let's talk about that really, really quickly. It's the other thing I realized, a strong democracy has pillars, and a strong democracy, has, and this, has a government, an our type of government, our type of democracy, a government, an opposition, a media that holds both of those accountable and informs the public of what's going on, and then a group like myself, the academics and the professionals and the subject matter experts that provide advice to the policymakers. And those pieces are all necessary to have a well-functioning democracy. And then a democracy like ours is also scary because it's the majority rules, which would be scary as shit for a minority. But we dealt with that problem a long time ago by having a constitution, a Bill of Rights, and laws to protect those minorities. So let's get and so we can all do a part in this to get that democracy working. It's not always about just running for politics and being a politician. So my role is to continue to educate and make sure that when you go to vote, you'll be educated. Your role is to make sure that you report what's going on, and going forward more than ever. And I think one of the best things that comes out of a meeting like this for you and I today is I'm just sharing some of the things that I saw during the last week. And it's part of the education. And now I'm hopefully people just get a little tidbit out of this, hopefully learn something, and then can apply it and notice it when it happens to them, So, the battle is fought on many fronts, and that's it. That's my positive message.
I think what I learned. So a lot of the pillars have been disrupted in recent times, and one thing I focus on specifically and particularly is the Fifth Estate. And the Fifth Estate has lost its course. They've lost what their meaning is altogether. And I think I've zeroed in on when that happened and what particularly happened in that case. The Fifth Estate being the media and their role of speaking truth to power they went awry when, instead of being blue collars looking at the power and speaking truth to them, they reckoned themselves part of the aristocracy, and they wanted to be they wanted to have a piece of it and be invited to the table. And that's an incestuous relationship that you just cannot have.
When do you think that happened? Was there a sort of was there an event that marked that, or
I don't know if there was a specific event, but I see that it happened gradually over time. You went from people being, investigative journalists and, figuring out the truth and then reporting on it, gumshoes and stuff like that, going to becoming like the Jan Rather, the spokesperson. I'm the echelon and holding their own events for themselves.
I fully agree with your theory and your hypothesis. And I think part of the event that occurred is what we now call the 24-hour news cycle. And so because prior to that, the power was limited because the journalist had 1 hour every day. And so then they couldn't, no matter what, it was hard to grab the power because they only had an hour. When they got into the 24-hour news cycle, all of a sudden it's like, oh man, now we can grab a lot of power because we have people listening to us 24 hours a day instead of just after supper. So I think, and that's probably associated with a technology, whether it be the internet or the television or something, but there was a technological change that led to the 24-hour news cycle that led to exactly what you just said. I totally agree that the Fifth Estate changed and wanted to be part of the power structure.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. And you can't have a Fifth Estate that does that. So, and here's the thing: there's always going to be a market for it, and it's guys like myself and other people on independent media, whether it's YouTube, on Twitter, wherever, Substack. There's a lot of journalists out there reporting on the news. I don't consider myself a journalist, more of an opinions guy, but there are a lot of people doing the groundwork, and they're covering this. And they're doing, and this is why so many people are paying attention and abandoning the mainstream media, because it's being fulfilled not in the mainstream at this time.
We could probably do an experiment and pick keywords, and every time we mention certain words, I get all scrambled up. And somebody's listening to us right now. Gerald Butts.
You're getting
Yeah,
zapped.
there you go.
Good old the butt man is zapping you from his place in Ottawa.
No joke, right? It's almost real. Hey, bud, it's getting very late for me right now.
Absolutely.
So,
no, it's great. Awesome talking with you. It'd be great to have you come on again and get things trending. Man, you did a real number.
I'm going to come back on a few channels. Maybe it's easy to reconnect, and maybe we can reconnect on a shorter term and just chat real quick, and you can add it to one of your segment in the next one. But I am disappearing for 10 days. And when I'm going to come back, I think we probably want to record my reaction when I come back. It could be good. It could be bad. I mean, and I'll just say a couple of closing things, I historically hate this time of year when I go hunting. I do it every year. I've been doing it for 25 years, and it's always been the same thing. I disappear off the face of the earth, and then 9 times out of 10 when I come back, it's something horrible that's happened while I was gone. The stock market crash of 97 and other things like that. So maybe hopefully when I come back from this one, maybe Trudeau will be gone, and then like maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So let's hope that that's the bad thing that occurs while I'm gone.
Let's hope. I don't think it would be a bad thing if that happened. I don't think a lot of people would consider that a horrible event at all.
We'll all sing Bohemian Rhapsody at his goodbye party. He's never going to live that one down.
Like, never lived that one down. It didn't outrage me at all, but it was still just kind of.
Find that video of that young conservative MP answering Chrystia Freeland today in the House of Commons, where he answered correctly, but he rhymed with the opening paragraph of Bohemian Rhapsody.
I got to check that out.
So listen to Bohemian Rhapsody, get it fresh in your mind, then go watch that video. You will laugh. And when he was doing it, all the MPs at first were just listening to him, weren't catching on, and then you can see the ones that are slowly cluing in, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And when I saw it, I was just like, "This is so brilliant, so brilliant!" One of the most brilliant moments that I remember in a long time. So check that one out.
Amazing. Well, thank you for coming on the show, and thank you guys for tuning in. This is amazing. Short notice, a lot of you guys turned up. A lot of you guys tuning in. Make sure you go check out more Marty's channel on YouTube, and go check out his Twitter. Give him a follow and get right in there. Anyway, we'll finish this here, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning and also on Friday in the afternoon. Keep on trucking.